Have you ever lost money on a stock? And more importantly, have you actually gone back and figured out why that happened? And have you become a better investor because of it? If not, I'm going to show you how you can save yourself perhaps 20% and really show you the difference. Let's go ahead and break it down. So, how do we get here? Somebody called your boy out. Okay, so here's what happened. I want to set the scene because this is actually a really important story and something we do need to talk about. So I did a video about 5 months ago, almost 6 months ago now, and this came out, a video about what I thought at the time were the best healthcare stocks. And I put the video out at the time. Again, these were what I thought were the best healthcare stocks. Somebody commented like a week ago, these stocks are terrible, basically, and these stocks have gone down pretty big. Now, it is easy to say that with 5 more months of information and going back in time and doing that. But here is the thing. I am not perfect. I have never been perfect, and I am willing to admit that, hey, this has not gone well, this didn't do well, so on and so forth. And I build in things in my personal investing strategy to become a better investor and to navigate those things. I think I am transparent about those things. I think that's why you subscribe to the channel, because I don't know a bunch of people who are. Like, y'all know I lost money on Intel. I talk about it, and I'm still mad about it. Okay? I say, hey, I did this thing, this stock was trash. I tried to do this strategy, and this was like, I talk about those mistakes and things that just didn't work out, right? So I don't know if everybody does that or not, but these are the things that I do. So let's go back and review those. And at the end of the year, I like to do these things as well. But let's go back and review some of those picks and just let's talk about some of those things. So first, again, talk about me not being perfect. I think that is blatantly obvious that I'm not. But first, Boston Scientific is one of the stocks in that video. I would still say Boston Scientific is a solid stock. At the time I'm doing this video, I'm doing this on Monday, the 26th, I think is the date. I don't have my phone on me. Here it is. Yeah, Monday, November 26th is today's date that I'm recording this. You might see it on Tuesday. Members may see it a bit sooner. But on the 26th, the market is closed. Boston Scientific is up 18% in the last 6 months and up 61% over last year. I would say that's solid. You tell me. I think that's a solid stock. Will it be a solid stock in the future? That's up to y'all to decide. But I would say from the time of that video to now, that stock has panned out. I think it's okay. All right. I'm not telling you it's going to be okay from now forward. I would need to reevaluate and redo my research on that one. Okay. But I think that panned out. I think it's okay. Eli Lilly was also in that video. Now it is down 2% in the last 6 months and up 30% over last year. Now Eli Lilly has had a history of doing quite well. I would not put Eli Lilly, I would not feel confident, as confident is probably a better term, as confident putting it at the top of my list, which you probably have not heard me talk about Eli Lilly since that video. You could put that in the meh category. It does pay a solid dividend. Maybe it will resurface later, okay? I wouldn't say it's gone down by a lot, but it has not done all that well, okay? Negative 2%, but there is a reason. We'll talk about that one coming pretty soon. All right. DaVita, DVA, up 20%. Up 20% in the last 6 months. And that video came out May 29th. So May to November, that's almost 6 months. Okay. Almost 6 months. So making 20% on a single stock in 6 months, I think it's solid. And up 67% over last year. I would call that a success. Okay. I would call it a success. Now, the one that I think this person was really focused on, and I don't blame them, is Moderna. Now, Moderna was so bad. Moderna was so bad that I did a video last week talking about how bad Moderna was. Okay. Now, I do tons and tons of content on here, on Threads, on Instagram. I'm writing books. I'm doing so much stuff that I don't memorize every single thing in every single video every single day for all the things that we do. Okay. But I know what happens, right? So I didn't realize that Moderna was good at one point and then it was bad and then put two and two together that quickly. But hey, Moderna was good at one point, because here's the thing. Back in May, Moderna, and this is the thing, you only have the information that you have at the time. In May, you tell me this. okay, in May, if a stock is up 90% in the last 6 months and up 17% at the time, is that a good stock? Yes or no? I think most of us would say, yeah, that's pretty good. But here's also the thing. Context is important, because also in that video at about the 9-minute mark, and I'll clip it and put it in this video, I also said this, right direction. Now I will say this. Anytime you are investing in a drug company, not a manufacturer, not a facilities company like DaVita, when I say a manufacturing company where they make the parts or the equipment like Boston Scientific or a company like that, or a McKesson where they make, again, the equipment, when you're dealing with a medicine company, they can be a bit more complicated. A headline about a drug not working or not being approved can hurt the company. So there is a bit more risk here. You might want to take a bit longer approach and get your expectations together, okay? So y'all heard the same thing? Okay, so I said drug companies, medicine companies, whatever you want to call it, they do have a bit more risk. Now, we do all know at this point in time, that's the thing about the stock market and the thing about investing. There are some things you don't necessarily expect or can anticipate, because in May, the election was not, who could have thought that months from now, who was going to win, and then somebody you didn't expect was going to take over Health and Human Services, and then that was going to impact Eli Lilly, and that was going to impact Health and Human Services, and that was going to impact, all these, there was no way you was going to anticipate that 6 months out. Come on, man. And, so that's going to happen. All right, so there are always going to be things that are not going to be in your control. But here's the main thing, okay? Depending on how you want to count Eli Lilly, the success rate here is anywhere between 50 to 75%. 50%, if you want to say Eli Lilly was not good, against negative 2%, that can change within a day, depending on whether or not you think Eli Lilly is a good stock or not. So 50% of the 4, right? 3 can be good, or just 2, right? So you've got Boston Scientific up 18, DaVita up 20, so that's 2. You can call it outright successes, and then Eli Lilly and Moderna you can say are not good. Totally up to you, depending on how you want to look at that. I'll let you decide. But 50 to 75%, which is a coin flip or to really good. However, here's the thing when it comes to either a 20% loss or a 20% gain. I think right here is the most important thing. When we talk about investing, I always talk about, one, the 6-month rule or the 1-year rule. I always say that you want to come back and reevaluate every 6 months or 1 year. I prefer 6 months. Why do I do that? That gives you enough time to come back, reassess the market, reassess that stock to see if you were right about what was going on with that stock, with the market, or how things changed enough to where you can make a better decision. You have enough information to say, hey, things didn't pan out the way I would expect. Well, 6 months later, things didn't pan out the way I expected for Moderna. This would be a time to sell. If it were me, if I own Moderna, things aren't what I expected them to be for healthcare. It might be, right? That's the whole point of having that 6-month rule, so I don't hold it for a year and things get way worse than what they are. That is why every time you hear me talk about stocks, it is 6 months and a year. So that I hold it for 6 months, then a year, I can come back and reevaluate and continue that cycle over and over and over again. This is exactly why. And it just so happens that we are at that 6-month time frame almost to the day. Almost to the day. And you have to wait exactly 6 months a day. It's totally up to you. That's my rule. It's totally up to you. But that's the whole point. This right here is the entire point, because now we have way more information than we had 6 months ago. The election is done. We kind of know who's going to be in what offices. We have more information. This is the point. This is the point. And now we can say, we can get rid of this, keep this. This is what we know about this entire sector. I feel way differently than what I did back then. And things have changed, especially for a company like Moderna. But here's to that 20% thing. The biggest thing, again, going back to the allocation part, is this. I ain't never told anybody to, and I'm not saying that this person said this either, to take your money and just divide it evenly between, 4 stocks, all in one sector either. Again, I'm not saying that person said that. So if you took your money and put it 25% in all 4 of those stocks, you actually would have lost money. So if you had $1,000 and put it 25% in all of those in the last 6 months, you would have started with $1,000 and had about $880. Okay, don't do that. I would not suggest that you would have done that either. What I have told you and what I do with my own money, and I think most of you have seen me do this as well when I show screenshots of how my money is invested and all that kind of stuff. I've told y'all that the vast majority, close to 80% of my money is invested in index funds, and that I follow that 5% rule. No more than 5% of my money is in crypto, but also in each individual stock, I tell y'all what, try not to have more than 5% in each individual stock. Why is that? Because you can afford to be wrong if you run into a Moderna situation or something worse. Okay? Because you don't know what is going to happen from time to time. It can happen to you. It happens to us all every now and then. Something goes bankrupt. Somebody scams you. I say scams you in terms of Macy's. There was a situation today where an employee stole $150 million or something like that. If that were your company and the company tanked because of that, who would have saw? Nobody would have saw that coming. Nobody would have saw that coming, right? So, getting back to the point, here's the thing. If you took these same 4 stocks, exact same 4 stocks, and did 5% in each, 5 in Boston Scientific, 5 in Eli Lilly, 5 in DaVita, 5 in Moderna, so that's 20%, and the rest in an index fund, you have $1,092, a 20%, closer to 20% gain, like 19.2, right? So you would have a 20% gain if you have 5% in each and the rest in the index fund. So split evenly, but just 5% versus 25% each with no index fund at all, right? You see the difference between the two? You still would have gotten the benefit of having each of those stocks and reduced your risk in Moderna not doing so well and perhaps Eli Lilly not doing as well as what you expected. Got the benefits of doing better than the S&P 500 in some aspects. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. And that's how I invest, right? And now, in a time like this, if it's time for me to reevaluate, I can say, all right, well, let me get rid of Moderna. Maybe I'll hold Eli Lilly. I'll hold for 6 months. And I guess in May of 2025, I'll come back and see how it is. I can continue holding. If DaVita continues to do well, then my portfolio does well. And now see what I want to add, subtract, so on and so forth. And that is how you continue to do even better. And then the longer you hold, the longer you invest, usually the better you'll get because you're only keeping the best stocks out there, right? And you're only getting rid of the losers. And what are you left with? Basically just winners, right? Now, there are some times that winners become losers, right? We just saw that for Moderna, but Moderna has been a little sketchy. So, again, you're not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. I will admit when I mess up, when I'm not perfect. And again, I think that's why people subscribe. One of the reasons why people subscribe. And again, even at 50% hit rates is pretty good when it comes to the stock market. But I will leave you with this quote. And it came from George Soros. I thought it was very, very interesting. So I'm going to grab that for you real quick. It's not whether you're right or wrong that's important. It's about how much you make when you're right and how much you lose when you are wrong. And I think that is a key of what we're getting at the end of the day, right? So if you had just 5% in each of those, right, maybe you did, or maybe I did, right? If it were me, maybe I did lose 80% of my money on that, right? Even when I own crypto, maybe I lost 60% on that thing. But if it's just 5% of my money, it's about how much I lost when I was wrong. If I'm losing 80% of 5%, yeah, whatever, because everything else is up, it might not matter as much to me, right? It's about how much I lose when I'm wrong, how much I make when I'm right. That is what truly investing is really about at the end of the day. If I'm right about a stock, I'm only making this much, right? And I'm wrong about something, and I'm losing tons every single time, then that's going to hurt me. Right? What good is it for me to be wrong and it's 90% of my money, and for me to be right and only be 2% of my money? Right? Those ratios are going to be off. So, continue to converse, right? Because conversation is not a word. So continue to converse. I like to be in the comments. I do read what y'all say. Do try to improve try to shorten things up when possible, and explain things when possible as well. But if you want to learn more about investing, more about what stocks are out there, and become a better investor, as well as, you know, possibly support the channel as well, then become a member, and also check out these videos next.